I knew I needed to do it as quickly as possible before they found out from somebody, before it wasn't me delivering the message, or before they were imagining different scenarios. Like, I needed to come home and do that. And so Ben was home with them, and Ben hadn't been able to be with Stevie yet because only one parent at a time at the hospital at Children's at that time. And so we decided the boys needed to know. So we switched spots, and he came to the hospital to be with Stevie, and I went home to tell the boys. And I mean, that was worse than telling Ben, and that was worse than the doctors telling me, was having to tell them and not sugarcoat, because they needed to know, and I couldn't tell them 5 times. So I had to tell them exactly how bad it was going to be the first time. And Sawyer, who does not express emotion, my youngest, and definitely doesn't like to let people see him cry unless it's in an athletic event, just fell apart and couldn't control himself hysterically. And Wes, who's a lot more comfortable sharing his emotions, also fell apart, but he was older than Sawyer at the time, and he just looked at me, and he just burned into my eyes, and he goes, "How are we ever going to be happy again?" And it was just, of all things to say, you know what I mean? And what I didn't have, what was I going to say in that moment? It was just, how will we ever be happy again? And then he didn't stop. Then he goes, "We won't. We'll never be happy again. I'll never be able to be happy again. Why is this happening to us?" And, and as a parent, you want to just rush to that silver lining so fast.
Sure.
You just want to rescue them from all of that pain, even though you know how important it is. You still would do anything to take it away. You would free them from every ounce of pain, even though you know how much that pain has blessed your own life, right? Like, I don't know why we're like that, but it is worse than experiencing your own pain, is watching them in pain.
Sure.
And I didn't have an answer. And as I'm my brain's going a million miles an hour trying to come up with some silver lining, the words just came out of my mouth, and I just said, "I don't know. I don't know how we'll ever be happy again. I just know that we're going to figure it out together. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. But you're not going to do it alone. We will figure out how to be happy again together." And I remember that moment when I see them falling apart today, and it's so hard for me and Ben, because it just seems so irrational sometimes when they're falling apart, and it's exhausting and so trying on us that they take out so much of their own grief and pain that they don't know how to express. They express through sports, and oftentimes it's not appropriate behavior, especially today. That's really hard for Ben and I. Yeah. And we feel like we're failing because we still haven't, we can see what's wrong and we can't fix it. And it does not feel like anything we've done has helped. Yeah. It's not getting better. Yeah. It isn't. And then when it does get better, when we have little periods where it's better, we can't identify what made it better.
Right.
So then it's what are we missing?
Right.
And then boom, it goes right back to every emotion in the world is being processed through sports. Yeah. And I will say, for anyone listening or watching this who's gone through something similar, and navigating something similar with their own kids, where, maybe they've gone through divorce and they're acting out at school, which we've experienced, or, whatever the personal situation, but if your kid's struggling and they've also gone through something hard, that the therapists and our hospice nurses, who they also provide a lot of bereavement, counseling for you, and then our therapists following after Stevie passed, and the kids' therapists all explain that, kids are so resilient. We give them so much credit for how resilient they are, because they continue to just live, and in a lot of cases thrive. But it doesn't mean that the trauma and the pain isn't still living in them, and we just aren't seeing it because they learn how to mask. So here I hear everyone's saying how resilient kids are at overcoming, and I'm like, no, grief has just taught them to become experts at masking. They've learned that they have to fit in, because every kid feels like they need to fit in. And to do that, they're going to have to hide how they're really feeling in this moment, which means it's going to come out against their wishes at other moments. And so the most helpful thing any of those therapists said is your boys, and for the age that they were at when this trauma happened,